Hey, this is Tommy Victor from Prong, and you're watching MULATSCHAG, the only TV you need.
You're a New Yorker, still.
No, I moved out.
I know, yeah. But you still feel as a New Yorker.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man, yeah. No, I mean, all my friends, apart from a few people, everybody, like Glenn Danzig, for instance, like where everybody's from the East Coast. You know, like, I have you know, there's a lot of transplants from New York, but I think you're born in this negative ignorance of living in New York that is somehow it gets embedded into you, and it's hard to get rid of. It's good to know when you're there and like to separate yourself from that view of life, and it's just this corporate headquarters of capitalism there, and just this rat race. It's I don't know if it's the healthiest place in the world to live or grow up in.
It's a lot more laid back in LA.
It isn't really, though. I mean, Los Angeles, it's more disguised.
Different drug use.
They put palm trees on the whole thing, yeah.
Yeah, and different drug use, probably.
I don't know. I'm a sober guy, so any drugs is bad, regardless of what it is.
Oh, you often mention James Hadfield as an inspiration. Yeah. A lot of people say that, you know, he got boring since he quit drinking. What do you say?
Maybe he did. I think he's always been the way he is, and I think that this is just a mature version of who he is.
Otherwise, he might be dead yet, you know.
Yeah, not even dead. I mean, you know, it's like considering the you know, the drive that Metallica has. I mean, and you know how much they've done. It's very dignified, I think.
Have you seen Cliff Burton playing with them?
Yes, I did. I did see Cliff with Metallica. Yeah. And that was amazing. It was at the Felt Forum in New York.
Wow.
Yeah.
You've worked at the CBGB. Great time. Your upbringing years, your developmental years. What comes to your mind when you think of that time now? What comes first to your mind? The smell.
No. The scene, and that means the amount of great bands that were around, and the amount of participation there was of music people and just like kids and older fans, and there was a lot of energy, and I thought it was amazing. It was a great time for like all through the early '80s, and it just didn't center around CBGBs. It was all of Manhattan, really. I mean, there was so many clubs, and there was so. And great bands, and like I think of stuff like even like the Bush Tetras, and a lot of like alternative things, and bands like Live Skull, and there's so many great things that went on. Glenn Branca, and it was just an amazing art scene, and it doesn't exist anymore. I mean, the people were living in lofts, and kids were squatting in buildings, and it was just like this open forum for ideas, and we didn't have phones to be attending all the time, and we didn't have internet, and it was just it was cool. Yeah. No one could really put it into words that much, but that's what you talk about New York. That's embedded into me. Yeah. So, a lot of these things that you grow up with and that move you into the direction. It's like, I grew up in Queens, which is like, we talk about cemeteries. The whole place is a cemetery. And it's like, getting out of there, getting out of the old neighborhood is going, screw this. I'm moving into Manhattan, and I don't care. I had no money, and I was living in this apartment on the Lower East Side, and that's what made me an artist, really, Yeah.
But one thing is strange. They never invited you back to play there, right? Is that right? At
Not
the
that I knew.
CBGB?
No, I didn't. By that time, other people probably infiltrated there, and they probably. I mean, the bands that were invited there had nothing to do with CB. So, I mean, like anything in America or anything, everything gets convoluted into something completely else. Like, so I'm almost glad. I wouldn't like. I have nothing against Korn. I love them. Their last album was one of my favorite records, but they had nothing to do with the scene. Why would they get invited to people who play there? I mean, they have nothing to do with it. And and like all these the music scene and like metal and everything. Definitely, I mean, how many bands really are from New York that really are around or survive? Not that many. Yeah. So especially from Manhattan. I mean, it was like Swans and, White Zombie, Prong, maybe, I mean, and Helmet, so I don't even think Helmet went back. I'm not sure, but, we'll see. That, who knows? I didn't even think of that. It doesn't bother me. I mean, by the time I left working there in 1990, I thought the whole scene was gone. It only lasted probably from 82 to like 88 was where, and then it just became a tourist trap, the club, really. And I was like, there's no reason to really be here. And then Hilly, the owner, saw it that way too. He was like, he couldn't wait to get the hell out of there.
You've mentioned a couple bands of White Zombie, Prong, of course, all on Headbangers Ball back then. When was the last time you've heard from Ricky Rachtman?
I saw him on the Strip in Hollywood outside of the Rainbow, and he was quite friendly, and he was asking if I was riding, and I said no, and he invited me out. I mean, he's a biker now, and that's his primary interest, so very nice guy.
Yeah. But he's not into TV anymore, right?
I don't think so.
He did some, I don't know, Love Boat, Rock Boat, or something.
Did he?
Yeah, a couple years ago.
Yeah, I'm not up on the plethora of Hollywood video shenanigans, really.
You have quite some appreciation for a band called Joy Division.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Please explain a bit.
Well, I mean, it's still one of my favorite things to listen to. It's just. I just relate to that, to the isolation and darkness of Ian Curtis, and I think the music is great too. I mean, it's just fueled with so much passion, and the eeriness of that music has never been, it's been tried to be copied by Interpol, and then the whole goth movement sort of came from Joy Division, but lyrically and I mean, I just love every Joy Division song and release. It's amazing.
Yeah. For a couple of years now, you've been using Schecter guitars.
They're pretty big.
Oh.
So, yeah, I mean, at least, in America, I mean, they have a very large distribution and two massive warehouses, and they sell a lot of guitars.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, maybe I guess Europe is a different scene, but I mean they've been doing really well. Like the guys at Avenged Sevenfold use them, and they've proliferated their models.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you've switched to Schecter after your Gibson got stolen, right?
Exactly. Yeah. No, I was like I have a really nice Les Paul special. And it was like an SG. It was like like a reissue, and it got ripped off out of our storage space. And I was like, "There's no reason to have these nice, expensive guitars anymore if I have to worry about them." And actually, the guitars that I have right now, of which Schecters are like my own signature model, is a great. They're pretty kick ass. So, you'll see them on what I've been playing. I mean, I love them.
Yeah. Yeah, you should.
Yeah, I mean, like it's like they've been very good to me, to the company.
A little darker thing, Paul Raven.
Yeah.
Is it true that you actually talked to him right before he died?
Oh yeah, man. That was. I don't know where you heard that from, but it was crazy because, initially Raven was supposed to be on that Power of the Damager record that we did. Like, he was going to be back, and then we were going to get Joey Jordison to play drums. And like Raven just never showed up, and he was like, I had already started working on songs, and I said, come on down with some material, and it was going on and on. And finally, I go, Raven, I don't know what to do with you. I don't know what he was doing. So I finally said, I gotta move on, and he's like, oh, it's okay, Mom, it's fine. So then, I was actually out with Prong. We finally released our Power the Damager record, and he called me up out of the blue. I was in New York, and doing like a press thing, and I'm like, "What's going on?" He goes, "Oh man, I'm gonna go over to Geneva. I'm working with with Ted Parsons and the Troponin Paul guys again." He's like, "I don't really want to do it. It's like." He was complaining about it, like going like, I think they're dicking me around like financially and everything, and I'm like, Raven, don't go over there. I was like, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? And he's like, I don't know, man, I'm not going. He was like, I'm like, all right, man, listen, don't go, and like I'll talk in a couple of days. And then I found out he went over. And that like 2 days later, I found out he was dead. I was telling him not to go.
To Running Lives, you've produced it. Was that a choice decision, or was it about the money?
There's no, the money is, if you guys knew how I live, you'd freak out. But anyhow, it's like, it was, it based on the last record, and I love the last record, Carved into Stone, and we spent so much time on it, and there was a lot of work put into it, and after looking at that, I was able to see, well, if you put a charted it out, like, really didn't have to do this, I really didn't have to do that, so if I was in control of making the new record, then I'd be able to eliminate these things that I think are absolutely a waste of time to do. Yeah. So, being that, and being based on that and the amount of time we had, I take the credit as the producer, and that's what a producer does. It just makes the decisions on certain things. Yeah. So,
you didn't use Pro Tools,
of course. Yeah, I mean, what record nowadays is not done with that? Otherwise, I mean, rolling tape or using tape is absurd. I mean, there's other digital audio workshops you could use, like Logic or something, but no, we did this with Pro Tools.
Oh, have you heard what?
It wasn't mixed in the box on Pro Tools, but it was recorded.
Have you heard what Dave Grohl did? He bought the mixer out of Sound Studio.
Well, I actually work with Grohl. I mean, there's a thing called Teenage Time Killers coming out. And it's with Reed Mullins from COC, Lee Ving is on it, a whole plethora of old school guys that Dave Grohl put together, and I sing a song on it. So I've been to the studio over there. So yeah, I've been, and I know I've talked to Grohl is going to go out and they're going to record the next Foo Fighters that documented all these old studios all over America. So, Dave Grohl sold about 20 million records and can afford to use as much tape as he can. I can't do it. I have to make a record quick, fast, and good, and this is an example of it.
And go on the road making some money.
Yeah, try to. Yeah.
MULATSCHAG!
Excellent. Yeah, it means wild party.
Oh, really?
It's like it's a Viennese slang word. Comes out of Hungary because like 100 years back, Hungary.
Yeah, Austrian Hungary. Yeah. I'm not that American. I don't know that.
That's good. Oh yeah,
the Habsburgs.
You exactly. You're East Coast.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like I used to live in LA for quite a while.
Australia had nothing to do with Hungary.
Yeah, it was like
I thought Australia, they were Scottish.